And I'm telling my students, if you give answers that you think I have in mind, I will notice it and you will have a lower grade. Yeah. So my solution was to come up with something that people can do themselves, because since 2020 people kept asking me, what can I do? And I'm like, you are the only one who can think about what you can do, because if I tell you, I'm the same as the governments that are telling you what to do.
This sounds fabulous.
Yes, fantastic.
Fantastic. Now, SDGs and Agenda 2030 have gotten a bad name and reputation, as in the past 20 years they appear to follow a different agenda than the one published. We mentioned some of the SDGs, they got published, and we appear to be backtracking or sabotaging even. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on the SDGs and the Agenda 2030? Professor Schippers, may I ask you some questions?
Yes, of course. What do you want to know, Rico?
It's July 5th, 2025. My name is Rico Brouwer, guest at your home, Michaéla Schippers. I know of your Letters to the Future project and challenge. You've been working on that for years, but you just recently published it in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals. A paper called Letters to the Future Challenge, a Scalable Online Tool to engage management students with the SDGs. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
When did it get published then?
It's still, I just got the proofs, so it is accepted for publication, but it's not on the website even still. But it will be next week somewhere.
Okay, so it's a scientific paper?
Yes, it's a scientific paper.
Is it going to be peer-reviewed also?
It's already peer-reviewed, so the whole process has already been done. So okay. I got a first review and a second round of reviews, and we then used all the review material, and then you still have to wait until it's accepted or not. But it's just been accepted.
So it's been on the preview servers, only now it's going to be peer-reviewed and it's going to be published any day now.
Any day, yeah. It's a bit different now. I just handed in the proofs last Friday.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've been working on this for how long?
For a couple of months. Yeah. I think about 6-7 months. It's pretty fast actually, usually faster than a normal paper.
Okay.
But it's 10 months.
I've read it and I've taken some quotes from it and prepared this interview, which we're going to publish on your channel, to which I do the technical part of it, follow the science. But since I prepared it, I'm suggesting I'm also publishing it to my channel podcast.
Of course.
In the abstract, the mission of the Principles for Responsible Management Education by the UN is to transform management education and to engage students with the Sustainable Development Goals. However, it seems that relevant SDGs are not being met, especially on important goals such as zero hunger. What is needed are pedagogical tools, so educational tools I suppose, and interventions that help future leaders to feel empowered to act positively to contribute to SDGs. Well, when I read this and try to read this, I lose myself halfway through the sentence. Maybe we could start with SDGs. What's an SDG?
SDG is Sustainable Development Goals, which were formulated by the United Nations and published, and they wanted the world to engage with these SDGs. So, for instance, the first one is no poverty. The second one is no hunger. It's also reducing inequality. So these kind of
great sounding goals.
Yes, there's 17 of these actually overarching goals.
Okay. Now you have taken it upon yourself to. So I'm filling it in. Correct me if I'm wrong. To take an intervention that you developed earlier and see if you can use that to get these sustainable development goals going.
Yes. Well, the thing is that these are not being met. It's not only that they're not being met, there's a lot of backtracking on those goals. So since 2020, for instance, hunger doubled for a while. I hope it's going better now. But poverty increased because a lot of companies were closed. So it seemed like we were going the wrong way. And I thought, well, there is elite or governments deciding and taking a lot of decisions that are not great. And I published about that as well. But if we want to meet those goals, I think action from beneath is from the masses is important.
Okay, so the United Nations set goals. Its members subscribe to those goals, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been going downhill since.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're not meeting those goals. You have designed an intervention, and you claim in your paper that might actually help reach those goals. Mm-hmm. Okay. Who are you? What's your profession, and what's your area of expertise?
Well, I'm a professor at the Rotterdam School of Management. I speak on a personal title.
Even now, when you're discussing your own paper?
Maybe, I don't know. It's
we've been doing these conversations for years already. And you start every interview with that sentence.
Yes, if it's an interview, I do that, and if it's not an interview, I for my own podcast. That's what the university asked me to say. But the thing is, it's always on a personal note, because I never, unless I say that I speak on behalf of the university, which is not the case.
Okay, fair enough. So this is not on behalf of the university, but from your expertise.
Yes, and basically my expertise is behavior and performance management, and what my real expertise is to let people shine. So individuals, groups, and basically societies. So this is what I've been doing, and which really makes me tick in terms of doing research.
Okay, so what's your observation of United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals then? You see these things being set.
Yes.
And you, from your expertise, see that going downhill, like I just said.
Yes.
How does that affect you? How does that impress you?
It's a pity, because then it seems like there's a disconnect between what they say they want and what they actually do to reach those goals. So it's almost the opposite. It's almost backtracking on a lot of these goals, and it may or may not be intentional, but this is what is happening, and I want to make that clear. And a lot of people are talking to me like, "Why are you writing about the SDGs? What happened to you?" And I'm like, "Nothing happened. I'm still the same. It's just that I think it's an important issue that we should fight poverty and that we should fight hunger and we should be working towards equality." Because I wrote a paper before, and we also made a podcast about that, about societal demise and its reversal. And one of the main markers of societal decline is actually rising inequalities. So if we, one way or the other, make sure they go down, our society will also prosper. Yeah.
And people can revisit whatever conversation we referred to that we recorded earlier on followthescience.nl. And I will link them under this conversation also. Now, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, provides a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet. At its heart are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. They recognize that ending poverty and other deprivations must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth. This sounds fabulous.
Yes, fantastic.
Fantastic. Now, SDGs and Agenda 2030 have gotten a bad name and reputation, as in the past 20 years they appear to follow a different agenda than the one published.
Yes.
And we mentioned some of the SDGs, they got published, and we appear to be backtracking or sabotaging even. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on the SDGs and the Agenda 2030?
Well, people get really sarcastic if they're or suspicious.
That's my question. Yeah, that's the core of the question.
If there is but if there is a disconnect between what is being said and what is being done.
Exactly.
So there is so it sounds great, but then the actions that the governments take are taking us in an opposite direction. So we see that in companies, we see that within people, leaders, and if they do that, then people lose faith in them, and then they lose faith in institutions, and that is another marker of societal decline, actually. So my solution was to come up with something that people can do themselves, because since 2020, people kept asking me, what can I do? And I'm like, you are the only one who can think about what you can do, because if I tell you, I'm the same as the governments that are telling you what to do.
Have your research and this paper been offered to United Nations, to the people publishing the SDGs? And if so, how has been their response?
That's a good idea, actually. I haven't.
So.
Well, in a sense, maybe I had. A colleague of mine, Rob van Tilder, whom I'm also publishing with, Rotterdam School of Management adopted the goals very early on, and that spurred a lot of research within our faculty. So, in a sense, it was very energizing. And Rob van Tilder is a colleague who is now with a pension. And when he had his pension in the university, that's a big event, and he also had invited a lot of people because he had a long career, and so 450 people were sitting in the audience, and there was a panel with Jan-Peter Balkenende, former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, and there was somebody, I forgot his name, I think it was Herman, who was a kind of a SDG Tsar of the Netherlands, and I never heard of him before, but he gave me his card afterwards. And I was sitting in the audience, and so they were talking about SDGs, and they were not really met. And then 2 questions could be asked, and I asked the question, I think we are backtracking on those goals. And so something really needs to happen, and I think it should be coming from the people and not from the governments, because clearly they are not taking us into the right direction. And so people started applauding. That was nice.
Yeah. So the room was agreeing with you, or with the premise of the question.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the response of the panel then?
They actually said, "Yeah, you're right. We should do some more work." And they were, and maybe your idea of letters to the future is really interesting. And so a general reaction, basically. And the person gave me the SDG person from the Netherlands. I forgot his exact title. He gave me his business card afterwards and asked me to contact him.
Okay.
And I did contact him, but he never responded, actually.
Okay. Your paper says in the abstract, what is needed are pedagogical tools and interventions that help future leaders to feel empowered to act positively to contribute to SDGs. Mm-hmm. Future leaders.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, Rotterdam School of Management students are basically the future leaders. That's the idea.
Okay, that's what you teach. So those are in your classes.
Yes.
Okay. Does the UN share that assessment in your paper? What is needed are pedagogical tools and interventions that help future leaders.
Yes, they do actually, and there are tools, and I've studied some of them, and I didn't see how they could be very successful, because usually they are about teaching students what the SDGs are, but not what they can do, not so much what they can do themselves. It's more like top down again. So I thought maybe a bottom up tool is important. I was surprised that something like this, I couldn't find it right away.
Okay. So at its core, what is your intervention?
It's basically, I called it a letter to the future, and there are letters to the future already, which is thinking about yourself like in the future, but this one is a bit different, because I think it was 2020 that I thought, how can I make sure people think for themselves and look into the future a little bit better, because people were like, oh, maybe within a month things will go better, and this doesn't happen by itself. So I thought, the heart of the intervention is think about the ideal world. If I tell my students, if you were God for a day, what would you change in the world? What would you like to see changed in the world? So write about it for about 15 minutes. Your ideal world if there were no constraints, if you could do anything you want. So people get really energized by that. And then I ask them, write about the world that will come to pass if we don't make any changes. Because then people look in the future, okay, maybe now it's not so bad, but if we don't make any changes, then things will go downhill. Maybe or not, it depends on what you believe. And then in the second part, I ask them, if this is your ideal world, what can you contribute to this ideal world? And what would be your number one goal if you want to contribute? And if this is your number one goal, why is it so important for you? What are you going to do to reach it? If you can't reach it, what will you do? So all these questions to make sure people really think about these goals, and then it's easier to actually start doing them. Because also I ask them, what is your first step? What is the first action you are going to take if you...
If you were to take an action, yeah,
right.
Okay. When people think about the assignment that you give them and think about what is coming to pass if nothing changes, if nobody intervenes, Is that a positive outlook or a negative outlook on the whole of your students?
Usually it's negative. It's like then people get poorer and the world is going downhill, and so usually
in general, your students see a downward trajectory.
Yes. Okay. Or not, or all the problems stay at the same.
Yeah, okay, nothing changes for the better, unless you yourself start taking actions, and that's the core of the intervention.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Critique on the United Nations Agenda 2030 is that it aims to strengthen a globalist approach while advocating to eradicate hunger and so on. They appear primarily to be pushing a climate change agenda, so this is my wording. Is critique such as that discussed in your analysis also?
Slightly, but I'm focusing more on the action from below, and what I'm saying is that the current approach has failed. It's like the approach, top-down approach, that hasn't worked out. So let's go for another approach.
That's why I chose these words. So this is my interpretation of top-down. These goals have been set a couple of years ago. We've taken a globalist top-down approach. We're now halfway doing a intermediary evaluation, and it's not looking good.
Right.
So now we can make adjustments maybe,
right,
to finally reach those goals in the coming.
Yes, but the adjustments that the elite has in mind is like even more top-down, because then we can make a lot of steps. Because if we have to rely on the people, then it goes in every direction. And I don't say that very explicitly, I think, in the paper. I don't remember, but yeah, it doesn't really. The focus was more on let's go for this bottom-up approach.
Yeah. In the introduction, you write. By the way, I say you, but it is a team, right? There's co-authors.
There's co-authors,
but you are the lead author.
I'm the lead author, and so I had the first idea. If the lead author also writes the most and has the most ideas, like the basic idea, but yeah, I have four co-authors, I think.
In the introduction, you write, recent evidence suggests that there are little to no concrete actions regarding responsible management education. In 2007, the principles of responsible management education were introduced by the United Nations to equip future leaders with the skills and attitude that would enable them to balance profits with sustainable goals. What can you tell us about the PRIME initiative within the United Nations?
But the thing is that in schools, there's, for instance, Rob van Tulder having a course and he's teaching this, but it's not coordinated within the curriculum usually. So that my next paper is about coordinating it better, like having looking at the overview effect, where people see the Earth from space, and then they get the idea, oh, maybe we want to preserve the Earth a little bit better and do positive things. Then actually make concrete plans, and then actually do something together with companies on one of the SDGs. So, for instance, fighting poverty somewhere in the world, in one way or the other. And that is making it more throughout the curriculum. So for instance, the course that is a second-year course, and I'm teaching a third-year course, so then in all the courses it comes a little bit better in the curriculum. So I'm teaching positive psychology for coaching and career success, and last time I had overview effect and the Letters to the Future challenge. And Rob van Tulder, my colleague, had the company assignment in his course. So, and then throughout the whole curriculum you should have these coordinated or red threads a little bit throughout the curriculum.
Yeah, I feel there might be a disconnect in the way you are teaching your students, like empowering them, a bottom-up approach. Think for yourself, what do you feel is needed and how can you contribute? It's an empowerment, what you're doing at its core. United Nations is not taking that approach at all.
I don't see it, no. So I hope they're happy with it. So I will send the paper afterwards, I think, to the United Nations. It's a good idea. I didn't even think about that. It's a good idea and it's also a disconnect from some other courses, because a lot of courses are like, okay, you have to do it like this, and please don't think too much for yourself, which is at odds with what we usually want at the university.
Oh yeah, so that would be a question on the university teaching on the whole. In the Netherlands.
Yes. It has changed, I think, from when I was
for the
studying.
better or worse?
That's a good question. So it's too general.
Or is it dependent on the professor, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Also, and on the faculty you're studying and the general atmosphere. Okay. But it has become more, how do you say, school-like.
Exactly. So not so much the empowerment thing what I just mentioned, but rather learn the lesson well and then you get good grades.
Right. And please give the answers that the teacher has in mind. The professor has in mind.
Exactly.
And I'm telling my students, if you give answers that you think I have in mind, I will notice it and you will have a lower grade. Yeah. Okay. It won't help you at least.
Your paper describes the context or time frame in which you are living and goes beyond the 17 SDGs, where the intervention can be beneficial as well. You write, for example, COVID-19, the cost of living crisis and geopolitical instabilities, all of which can erode our need to be in control. So do you mean to say that the SDGs are limited in scope, or that the intervention that you developed should be or could be applied more broadly?
I think the intervention could be applied more broadly. But the SDGs cover almost everything, every problem in the world, because they also have all the sub-goals and everything if you really look into them. And the only thing is, I think it's good to have goals, but I think they're not only stretch goals, but almost impossible to attain, because no poverty or no hunger. It's like, I'm a very optimistic person, but to say it this strongly is a bit too strong for me, I think.
Yeah, eradicate hunger.
Yes, and it feels a little bit...
What do you tell your students? Okay, so I've never taken your class, but when a student starts giving answers that they feel that you want to hear, that's a downgrade. That's you want them to think for themselves.
Right. There was one student commenting on this, and she, I think it was she, said, "I'm autistic, and but reading these goals, it's like," and she gave the exact critique that I also have on those goals, which I thought was really good, and actually I gave her some extra points for this.
More points for that.
Yeah.
So, when you teach a class and a student sets for themselves unrealistic or unattainable goals, much like the United Nations did with some of the SDGs, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
How would you respond to the student?
If you say, I only want 10s during my study, you can get disappointed, right? If you only want the highest grades for every course you have during the class, I don't know any student who has that. So that is the thing, a little bit.
In an ideal world where I would not be sitting here, but the people of United Nations that implemented, that started the SDGs, they would be sitting here and you would be talking to them. What would be your response to the people writing up the SDGs back in the day?
I would say go talk to Locke and Latham, Edwin Locke and Gary Latham. They are the goal-setting theory experts. So if you want to set goals for the world, let's do it in line with goal-setting theory.
And the United Nations did not, that's what you're saying?
I don't think so, no. Well, I sent an email to Edwin Locke to ask what he thought about it, but he's getting really old. I think he's 87 now, and he gave me a very short response. I forgot about the exact response. He was like, I don't know anything about this, or I don't want to know anything about it, something like that.
Okay. The Letters to the Future challenge, so your challenge, was developed from a more individual goal-related positive psychology intervention. You write, many societal conditions are often accepted as a given and or remain difficult to change. Indeed, even the ambitious SDGs have proven easier to formulate than to implement and attain. Are such direct societal goals predestined to fail if they are not reflected by actions on an individual basis?
Yes, of course. Because if I help one other person and everybody in the world helps one other person, then there are no problems in the world. But if governments are going to decide which way we are going, then people start to revolt also, even because they want to have a say in the decision-making process. Now, I cannot tell you what to do to make the world a better place, right? Well, I can, but I hope you don't listen.
Maybe I should reach out to the people at United Nations and do a follow-up interview there and ask them to reflect on your paper and on this interview. Because if you set unattainable goals, which they appear to have done, was that then naivety or what?
I have no idea. So I don't know what the idea was.
Massive amounts of money are being spent on attaining these sustainable development goals.
Yes.
To little or no effect, or to a negative effect.
Right, right. Well, that's what you often see, you know. A student of mine was very unhappy with the results of the life crafting intervention, which is similar, but then on an individual level, and because he had a little less big effect than I had. I think he had 15% and I had 22% more study success. And then, and then his co-author said, "Oh, but I was involved in a study in Groningen where they were mentoring young children for a year, and then afterwards these young children who had been mentored for a year did less well than the pupils who weren't." And that was interesting, who just were free to play and didn't have all this extra time and investment. So sometimes you invest a lot and then you have detrimental effects. So maybe invest in the right things, I would say.
Yeah.
So now we put in a lot of money and then hunger doubles and the inequalities rise and I don't know, everything.
What made you decide to start writing this paper? Was it watching poverty increase, hunger double? Mm-hmm. And you go, I have an intervention for this. Wait a minute, I'm going to now hold my beer, I'm going to write it up. Yeah. How does that work?
Well, actually, first I developed this intervention. It wasn't there yet. And that was in 2020 when I went to the, it's called a snack bar in the Netherlands, but I went to get some French fries.
Yes, fast food, yeah.
Fast food, and then, which is maybe not good, but I sometimes crave it. And then I asked this person, was like, it was a very dark October night, and he said, "Oh, I hope within a month we are finally free of all these measures." And I said, "No, it's not going to happen." And he said, "Well, maybe within a month." And I said, "No, it's going to take 5 years at least." And then he was like, "No, please, no." And I'm like, "Yeah, if you don't do anything." And people were like, "Yeah, but what can I do?" And so I started thinking, people genuinely want to do something, but they don't know what to do. They feel this learned helplessness. And when I stated this in my course to my students, like a lot of these students were lining up afterwards, I feel learned helplessness, and which is basically that you don't know what to do, and you feel a bit depressed also, because whatever you do, it doesn't make sense, or you cannot really think about what you can do to change the situation because it seems too big. And then I thought, everybody can do concretely, even making your neighbor happy or somebody in the street happy is already doing something. So small actions can also help.
Students appearing in your classes for the first time, you would assess them as the starting point is learned helplessness also? Well,
these are third-year students, and they have learned over the years that, and also they came from the corona times, so their mental health had really taken a hit. You can see that in the graphs. There's a lot of research available that shows that.
They are students at Erasmus University, the Rotterdam School of Management, your employer. And your employer states that its mission is to be a force for positive change in the world, and for this they are committed to the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals as the framework for defining a positive change. Yes. So, how is your intervention being used within the framework of your university?
At the moment, I don't know if the Rotterdam School of Management knows about it, except for me and my colleague. And I'm teaching it in my own class, 250 students each year. I think it can be used broader, so what I'm going to do is send the paper that I just published to the communications department and to the dean and say, hey, maybe we want to do something. But then again, we have to cut expenses in the Netherlands for 2 billion euros. So I'm not sure they are really open to it at the moment, because a lot of things are going on.
The main value of the Letters to the Future intervention may lie in the fact that first a self-transcendence or meaning mindset is created, in which abundance seems natural, followed by an implementation mindset to not only follow up on a fleeting feeling of happiness when people self-transcend, like giving to the poor or something, but to strategically build a life around transcendence, of self-transcendence, with a clear direction and goal plan. You wrote that up.
Yes.
Can you rephrase that in normal English, Michaéla?
Yes, yes. Actually, a lot of people have been trained to think that the resources are finite. So gas is going to run out, we're going to run out of oil, drinking water, whatever you can think of, food. And then all of the time you see that people are so creative that, for instance, there's this man that fed the world. He made made the land so much more productive that we could feed the world. Well, I don't know if the way we're doing it, but at least we can feed the world. But we're also saying constantly, we have been trained with, because if I tell people this, I say we can also think in abundance, that there is enough resources for everybody. There's enough for everyone to do well, as long as not a few are taking everything. But then people will say, yeah, but there are too many people in the world. And I'm saying, who's saying that? And why is that the case? You know, so these are the kind of things that people are taught to think. But they have no idea. There's no proof on that there are too many people in the world. You cannot really prove that, I think. You can only prove maybe that there is not enough food for everybody in the world, which is also not the case, I think.
Well, you could make the point that poverty has increased, hunger has doubled, so clearly there's not enough food at the location where people are hungry.
Right, but if you close down the lines, you know, the supply lines, then the problem becomes that we are throwing away food here, which is not reaching the people there, which is not, you know, ethical, I would say, but it happened.
Yeah. In the discussion of your paper, I'm going to read a quote from that. As many business schools have embraced the Sustainable Development Goals, like your own school, in the curriculum and strategy, an important challenge is to A. Engage students with the SDGs, and B. Actively involve many people in trying to solve wicked societal problems. Importantly, the most recent report on SDG progress concludes that, with just 6 years remaining, current progress falls far short of what is required to meet the SDGs. Without massive investment and scaled up action, the achievement of the SDGs will remain elusive. So we've been going at it for a couple of years, we're not making any progress, we need more money.
Right. Yeah, I think we need more action, but then from below, or let's say from the people. And I think this is very scalable and very cheap. The problem is that people also always say we need more money, but maybe with less money, but a very targeted investment in this scalable intervention, making it available to as many people as possible, like millions of people, and then make sure that people have these connections, like that they start small groups where they work together towards goals, because that is not a model they're using. I think they're doing these top-down interventions.
That's where the way I prepared this interview, where I started, I see the Sustainable Development Goals being published. I see it cost loads and loads of money. All countries committed to it, and we are investing in it. So there's no result. We're not reaching those.
Yes, and we're backtracking on them.
And we're backtracking even. So a negative interpretation of what's taken place could be: we've set goals, we've been able to spend money that way, and now we need more money.
Yes, yes. Please give us all your money.
Give us more. We failed. Give us more.
Yes, yes. So don't do that. Don't invest more money in that way. That's a simple solution, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the people that instigated these SDGs are the ones that asked for the money in the first place.
Yes.
So they might not.
But they shouldn't be allowed to take it, and we shouldn't let them take it.
Yeah, it's not been taken. It's been voluntarily given. Right?
I don't know. Yeah, governments give it probably to the United Nations, exactly. And they use it. But
on the positive side, it's been recognized that progress lags, so that's positive. The remedy proposed, however, is massive investment. Have any of these people read your approach, you think?
Not yet, I think. And if they read it, they're probably not happy, because people tend to want to have more money, and then they can do their own agenda. If you look at, like for instance, in Africa, where there's a lot of help or organizations that are supposed to help people, are actually become machines to gain more money, and they are driving big cars while people are not being helped. And I'm not saying that's for every organization, but this is the way it happens. It becomes a self-perpetuating machine, which doesn't have the results that you would hope for.
You've been teaching mechanisms like this in your classes, and you've gotten success. I mean, it's measurable in the study results of your students. However, it's not currently being used on a broader way within the institutions that you work for. Now that you have this paper out, it might.
Maybe, yeah. I got really. I'm going to present it at the Academy of Management conference in Copenhagen in August. And the reviewers were so enthusiastic that one of them said, I'm going to come to your talk, I'm going to use it in my own teaching, and I'm going to propose this for a prize, award.
Okay, that's a nice thing to look forward to.
Yes, I'm probably not going to get the reward, but it's nice.
That's a negative outlook, okay. One of the closing questions that I had for you is, what would the ideal world look like if there were no constraints, Michaéla?
I think that I wrote my own letter to the future, and one of the first sentences there is that systems should be in place to serve people, and people shouldn't be to serve systems. And education should also be different. It's like if I look at the education now, people are being boxed in. They have to learn things, and if they go out of this...
They learn to comply. Yeah, I choose my wordings more explicitly than you do, but I observe the same thing. Okay. So if I ask you, what would the ideal world look like if there were no constraints, you would basically voice the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
I don't know if all 17, but yes, basically that would be ideal, right? If nobody is, people are happy, they're not hungry, they have food, they have a house, they have a place to live. But also, what is really important is that we live in harmony with the world, because basically we're taking from the earth a lot, but not giving back in the right way. So that would be more harmonious.
So I know you to do your own interventions. So is writing this paper a follow-up on that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. How can people participate in the intervention? Can they try it themselves? Where would they go?
Yes, they can go to ikigaitv.nl and to the challenges, and they can do all the challenges. So I would actually recommend to start with a gratefulness challenge, because about 98% of my students said that they were really happy that they did this challenge, because it's so small and it helped them already getting a more positive outlook on life.
Okay. And I will link that under this conversation as well. Now, back to it being a scientific paper that has gone through a peer review process.
Yes.
How does that work? Do the peer reviewers, how can they replicate what you say? You say we have, if I do this intervention, I have a bit more study success, for instance.
But the thing is, this is a conceptual paper. So what I did is a conceptual paper writing the theory behind it, and the theory behind the intervention itself, so other people can start using it already. I gathered data within the course that I'm teaching, but I haven't published it yet. I haven't analyzed the data even yet, because it's been pretty short ago, and so I have to analyze it.
Okay, so the theoretical approach has been peer-reviewed now.
Right.
And now it's up to
the world and myself.
Yeah, to think big, the United Nations, to actually implement it.
Right.
See if it...
I hope they will do it.
If it holds. Okay, have you said everything you wanted to say about your paper, Michaéla?
Yes, I did, I think. Thank you.